Macca's Guides.
Hey guys, Macca here with the Xbox One and Windows PowerA Fusion wired controller, which I'll be nicknaming the Budget Elite because it has a lot of things in common with that controller, but comes in at a fraction of the cost. Some of the features we see on the Xbox Elite controller that are also on this controller include the ability to change your analog sticks, do the impulse quick triggers, and have buttons mapped to the back of the controller, as well as a cool paint job and 3.5mm jack. At the beginning of this video, I'll do a very brief and quick unboxing. Then I'll be using the controller for about a week and making a wrap up of what I think. So let's just dig right into the box. We're going to open it up by getting the sleeve right out, revealing the controller. Now I have opened it up just to see what was inside, to get a rough idea of what we were getting into. Now let's remove this reflective piece of plastic, as it's going to really bother the camera. Up here, let's just take this out and assemble it piece by piece. Inside this box, we have a spot for our 3 pairs of interchangeable thumbsticks or analog sticks. These are the 2 pairs that are extra, and then there's obviously one already on the controller. This controller doesn't come with a case, I guess, but here is where you might be able to want to keep your extra thumbsticks. Let's put that to the side. When we pull this out of the box, we also reveal that behind here, we have a small package. And in this is just like a quick start guide, just some instructions, the Fusion Information Pack, if I can open it without ripping it. So it's just like booklets and stuff. And then inside here is where we have the controller. So like I said, it is a wired controller, which is why we have the braided cable at the top. And then we can actually get to the controller. Let me just focus on getting this out real quick, watching the thumbsticks, and pulling it out. This is the controller, just a very basic overview. You can see what it's like. It is wired. It does have the removable thumbsticks, which are not magnetic, but they do click in. You would place them on and then push hard until you hear a click. And that's when they're in. It does have the kind of gold accents, as well as a bit of a carbon fiber finish on the back. You have the 2 buttons that are embedded into the controller. You have the half trigger pull or the full trigger pull. And you have your connect button as well as the face of the controller. That is more or less it for the PowerA Fusion unboxing video. The rest of the video will be me reviewing the product. So I've used this controller for about a week and a half now, and there's a lot of things that I actually like about it I think are pretty cool. And there's some things that aren't so cool. First of all, in my opinion, I think it's very stylish. I think the black and gold design on it is really nice, and I really enjoy the carbon fiber on the back and the grip-like texture in the plastic on the handles. Overall, I think looking at it, it is a visually appealing controller, but that's going to be up to personal preference. Now, I've been calling this controller the Budget Elite because it has a lot of the same features as that controller, including interchangeable analog sticks, quick trigger locks, the Pro gaming buttons, which are basically the buttons on the back. It also has like impulse triggers, the dual rumble system with impulse triggers, 3.5mm audio jack, which is going to be pretty useful, and like a heavy duty braided cable, which obviously isn't an Elite feature, but it's good to have a braided wire if you're going to have a wired controller. One thing I actually really enjoyed on this that is not available on the Xbox One Elite controller is the ability to do on-the-fly button mapping for the Pro buttons on the back. You are able to change what these 2 buttons do on the fly within 5 seconds or less. You don't actually have to go into your Xbox settings and change any of that stuff. You can do this on the fly. Literally, if 1 second you have the B button on the back, in about 5 seconds, if you're spawning in a shooter or something and you want to change that to the X button, you can do it right away. The controller also comes with a decently high quality unboxing experience, so if you're into that, you will like it. Now, the biggest pro to this controller, in my opinion, I think, is absolutely, without a doubt, its price, coming in at only $50, 1/3 of the price of an Elite controller, and even cheaper than a regular stock Xbox One controller. Now, it is a third-party controller, and third-party controllers don't necessarily have the best reputation because they tend to break very often and feel a little cheap, and this controller tends to feel a little more cheap than some of the other first-party licensed controllers. It's not that it's poorly made, it just seems that some of the parts they used might seem a little bit of lower quality than some of the things you might be used to. However, because of the materials used, it does end up being a very light controller. I will say that I like the feel of the controller when it sits in your hands, and I like the clickiness of the buttons, which make it feel like you're really getting a responsive controller. I would have also preferred if they used plastic for the view and menu buttons instead of that awkward rubber, which feels so pushy and you never know if you're getting an actual click in. It's also a wired controller, which means that you won't have to look for battery packs, but it also means that it's a wired controller and you have to be connected directly to your console. Now, obviously, that's not something for everyone. Some people won't mind it, some people will mind it. It is something to definitely keep in mind when you're thinking about getting this controller. And now it comes down to my recommendations about whether or not this is a controller that's going to be for you, and it really depends. If you're on a really tight budget and you really like the idea of some of the features of the Elite controller, but aren't at the point where you can afford it, this might be a decent substitute. I think the budget price of this controller is absolutely its greatest feature, and that's what people are going to be looking for if they're thinking about buying this controller. Again, it has some of those really cool features. They're just not all implemented up to that golden standard that you might be looking for. But maybe you have a secondary person that you game with that wants some of those elite features, but doesn't game enough to shell out all of those dollars for that shiny Xbox One Elite controller. And this might be the controller for them, the casual gamer who enjoys the competitive nature and enjoys the extra features. It might also be for a stickler who only wants to play with domed analog sticks as well, if that's something they're used to. The advanced gaming buttons on the back do offer you the potential to do a lot of things that other people won't be able to do, especially if you're playing competitively, but because they are a little bit awkwardly positioned, it might take some adjusting to, and hopefully your index fingers don't move with your middle fingers as much as mine do, because I found when I press those buttons on the back that my index fingers would also naturally want to press the triggers, and this took a lot of adjusting to. It should also be noted that this controller does not offer a interchangeable D-pad, and because of the 3.5mm jack on the bottom, old school chat pad mixers won't be able to work with this. And that's about it. It's a decent controller for its price, but because of its price, it's not a great controller. Hopefully that makes sense. It's exactly how it should be for the price you're paying. Maybe if you're looking for some of those pro gaming features, but you're not looking to spend that pro gaming money, this might be the solution for you. And based on the price, I'd probably recommend it, but don't expect anything more than what you're paying for. And that's about it. If you guys have any more specific questions, please reach out to me in the comments underneath the video. Thank you so much for watching. If the video was cool, feel free to like it, share it with a friend. Special thanks to the Gigs and DuckCupcake84 for supporting on Patreon, and hopefully I see you next time. Peace!